Been a lot of calls today from church leaders, from some of the presidential candidates, that IEBC should finish this process sooner rather than later. Would you say that that's an unfair call, bearing in mind in 2017, when the courts annulled that election, IEBC were left on their own, and right now you get the sense that they are trying to ensure a different outcome altogether?
Yeah, one could say it's unfair, but it is also fair, based on the pressure. Because they are leaders also in their own right. They have followers that are asking them for answers. Elections generally all over the world, not just in Kenya, not in Africa, elections tend to come with emotions. You see what people do in America about elections. So I think, and judging from the pressure that I have as an individual, of people right who, now, after seeing me on this program, will be asking me, what exactly, can you just gossip to me what's happening? And people just want, an assurance so that their nerves can cool down. So I think they are also under pressure. But the law also, and I happen to have been one of those who are here in Bomas in 203, 204, as a delegate, 463, writing the new constitution. There was a reason why 7 days were allowed. Ideally, IEBC can finish this work even on Tuesday, if it went that far. But I think based on the tallies, the polling station, they have been able to verify the constituencies. I've been seeing on display on the screens there, in some counties, 100% verified. Others, 70%. There are different stages, but majority are in the upwards of 70 plus. So I'm confident that they'll be able to do it tomorrow. I think because of what happened here, the incident that happened here last night, a lot of tension building up. When I was coming back in the afternoon after stepping out for lunch, it took me about 2 hours to get in, again, because there were, politicians coming in with their followers. I think there were some instructions from IEBC that politicians not be allowed, because they are actually some of the people causing a bit of tension here. And so it is that kind of situation where, they don't want people to get into a state of now beginning to speculate. Because as all this is happening, there are people who are they are returning officers on social media, displaying all manner of results, the manner in which they would wish them to appear. And so I think the religious leaders are also under pressure, and they're just urging the IEBC to do what is humanly possible to process this thing before the tensions build a bit too high.
So I want to refer you to a report that was released by the Angaza movement. I think it's a gathering of civil society players.
Yes. 2
months before the polls. And I don't know if you would now consider this water under the bridge.
Yes.
But we must continuously look at where we came from to understand what a better future looks like. And they had raised questions with the IEBC. And I want to get a sense from you whether you feel these questions were answered before Kenyans went to the polls, and which questions you feel we must continuously explore as a country to make our elections more efficient. They were concerned about the opaqueness of information about procurement of election equipment. They were concerned about questions raised in a KPMG 2017 audit report, and I think another one also closer to this one also raised similar questions. They were concerned about the effectiveness of our electoral technology, with tests coming up, and we saw that happening as well. Locations of polling stations, the question of the voters register, digital versus manual, and general election management coordination. What role the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, the EACC, IPOA, NCIC, Communications Authority, and other players will play as well. And interestingly, point 9, they were concerned about voter apathy.
Yes.
As well. I've mentioned several aspects of a letter they wrote to the IEBC. Which of those do you feel are still very important today, haven't been answered from where you sit?
I think these are issues that ought to be addressed continuously. Each election comes with its own peculiarities. I must admit that I'm one of the staunchest critics of IEBC for obvious reasons. Because, getting information or getting IEBC to communicate is trying to extract a tooth from any of those commissioners, which is unnecessary, because under the current constitutional framework, public participation is mandatory. It's one of the national values and principles of governance. So I agree entirely with the Angaza movement that all those issues that they raised remain an issue of concern. We also know that procurement is one of the weakest areas in IBC, whether it is human resources, even when they're hiring, they can't just seem to agree on who qualified. And so I think all these things are issues that will continue to dog us. And we are asking for more openness. In terms of opaqueness, I think it is now when the votes were towards the casting of the ballot, the IBC, became a little more forthcoming with information, with updates. And, there was a time we were telling the IBC that if there is anything we can learn from the COVID-19, is the effectiveness and regularity of communication that we got from the Ministry of Health. Can't we make it a routine that on a daily basis, all media houses and outlets will know that IBC is making their daily update on the electoral process at this point in time? And it doesn't cost you anything. Exactly.
Predictability, yes.
So that, when all these issues about, people from Venezuela, and, IBC seems to always be reacting as opposed to being proactive, more forthcoming, more proactive in information sharing. So I think it is one area they love to work with. And moving forward and knowing that 3 of the commissioners that have stayed there a little longer are serving their, of course, it is a term of 6 years, non-renewable. So they are set to leave in January. So I think they must begin to induct. And I was beginning to fear, in fact, in one of the forums, I told the IBC that I'm a football fan, and whenever a club acquires new players, they field them so that they can test which other players, position they play best in,
yes, that's correct.
Which other players they match well with, they coordinate well with. So it took a bit of a while for the 4 new commissioners to catch up, but increasingly I'm seeing them playing a role and being given prominent roles to play. I think each of them has a docket they are in charge of, which is a very good thing, so that when the 3 that are serving their last couple of months leave, there'll be at least some institutional memory, some authority, because as the courts have always said, the power of any constitutional commission vests with the commissioners and not the staff. So this notion that the staff have the institutional memory, we have seen, it negated in court, and the court have since clarified that once it is a commission, the reason why it is called a constitutional commission is not because of people that have been hired to aid the commission in the delivery of its mandate, but the people that have taken the solemn oath to execute the mandate that the commission is assigned in the constitution and the law. And
the 3 commissioners you're referring to, obviously the chairperson,
of course, yeah.
Abdi Guliye,
yes.
Professor, and Boya Molu,
yes.
as well.
Those ones are set to leave because they'll have served their 6 years by January.
And good practice then mandates that their replacements should be a matter of priority.
Actually,
not what we saw.
Exactly. And that is, it's not the commission to blame. The commission cannot recruit itself. I think as a government, the Kenyan authorities have not treated all these commissions with the respect they deserve, with the legality that surrounds their tenure of office. Look at the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. They were recruiting a couple of months ago, 1 year after the vacancies had occurred. And the same has been replicating in all these constitutional offices and commissions.
It's a worrying practice.
Which actually shows a negative attitude, an attitude that is a bit negative and adversarial to the commission.
Yes.
Because then, if you just leave staff, they could be headed by a CEO, but the CEO does not have the mandate of the commission, and that really jeopardizes the work of these constitutional commissions.